Welcome back to the Simulated Airspace. This is episode 4 of our series of Falcon BMS and DCS Talk. So, the Simulated Airspace, if you're new to the channel or the podcast, we do discussions on Falcon BMS, DCS, IL2, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and other sims. Occasionally, we may discuss events in the current, future, and past of aviation. The expectations for this discussion and podcast is to talk about the many aspects of flight simulators and to understand why players fly and what makes the virtual skies so exciting. So just want to wish everyone a happy new year and happy holidays, and 2026 is going to be great for Falcon BMS because there's a lot of new things coming, and we just had another update before the break, so we had some updates in there. But I am excited about what to come with Falcon BMS. I am accompanied here by Fisgas, and he has been here for all of the podcasts, so I wanted to welcome him, and he could go ahead and give a short little introduction. But I do wish you a happy new year, and I'll go ahead and give the floor to you for a little bit.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. I want to say as well, Happy New Year to everyone listening. I hope you have an excellent 2026, and I hope you had happy holidays. I'm Fisgas. My channel is called Fisgas Fighties. I have a bunch of videos on there, tutorials, campaign playthroughs, a couple of meme reviews, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks. And I'm Aviation Plus, do flight simulator videos, Falcon BMS, and all that stuff. So if you haven't heard of our channels, go ahead and give it a view. So if you're new to BMS, if you've been playing BMS for a while, both of our channels will be relevant in your BMS and simulator adventures. In this specific episode, we are going to talk about the multiplayer stories from players, some lessons learned, and some growing pains of Falcon BMS, how getting into it. Also, we'll kind of touch in about how the 2025 questionnaire turned out. I did one last year, the last couple of months of the year, and I just released a video. It might be in the past now because we're recording this on the 17th of January. I released it this past Friday. So if you haven't watched that, I will have that in the description below. Make sure you give that a view because some of the results actually surprised me and others. So we'll touch on that a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started with the multiplayer stories from other players, which will be us. So for me, the most memorable thing that came to BMS at this very moment, would be the Eagle. So I'm pretty sure most of us remember the Eagle first coming out. It was I guess, lack of a better term, a early access module, what the people in DCS would say. So it was early access. It had mostly the Viper stuff when it comes to avionics, and then they kind of merged it to having specific Eagle avionics and screens and controls and all that stuff. And there was a point in time where everyone was excited to use the Eagle. And for me, my first time in the Eagle was a couple of years ago, and it was my first time leading in the Eagle with the flight of 4, I think was the first time. So I'm already a flight leader of a Viper flight, but as we all know, the Viper and the Eagle are two different machines, and they should be used differently in all aspects, and they have different strengths and they have different weaknesses. So here I am trying to lead a flight of 4 people in an Eagle that I've flown for maybe 4 hours, just learning all of the controls and stuff. So I'll recollect on the time that I flew Eagle for the first time as a lead. I thought I was ready for the tactics and organization, being that I flew the Viper. But like I said, it is different than the Eagle. The differences between the Eagle and the Viper are vast and obvious, but there are subtle variations. So when you're in the air, obviously the Eagle is different because of the radar is stronger than the Vipers. The speed, it can go faster than it. Fuel is more. Altitude takes more into consideration because you can get up higher and get up faster. Timeline of the BVR timeline, the lofting for the missiles, commit time, like all that is completely different when you get into the nitty-gritty of the tactics. So leaving that aside with the tactics, the interface of the Eagle is different as well. So I'm working with the interface of the Eagle, working with the tactics at hand, and I'm kind of getting helmet fire, which means that I don't know what's going on, and as a lead, my situation awareness decreases and decreases, and I get overwhelmed with what's happening, and it turns out that it was we had about 6 enemies or so, so 4 versus 6 when it comes to Eagle is not really that difficult. But when you're not used to the Eagle, not used to the controls and all that stuff, it could get pretty difficult, and you're just like brain going all over the place. So my task saturation was very very high in this. So basically, we had four ship of Eagles. I didn't have the tactics down, but we came up as a wall. So it was all 4 of us in a wall, about 2 mile separation each. We had another wall of enemies on the other side. It was about four. It was 4 Sukhoi, like Su-33s, I believe. So 4 Su-33s, and I sorted because it's the same basis as the Viper. So you sort all of your members to a target. So I say sort the I say my number 2 sort the left, and then I sort the middle left, and then going to the right. So you just sort your enemies based on the azimuth that they are. So I sort them, and I'm working with my radar. I can't really get my radar to work because I'm not used to the symbology, and I can't get it to work and whatever. So we fox. I'm not able to fox. So I have to remember to not continue in on the enemies, because that's how you get in trouble. You need to respect the minimum abort, or the minimum abort rate, to not get hit. So I'm in on the enemies. I have to turn out because I didn't shoot anything, and then we reset it again. I think we only had two get hit, so only 2 of the enemies got hit. So we had 2 left. So I come back in quickly to come back in, and I shoot again. I'm able to shoot them this time. So we finally got all the enemies out. And in my brain, I was thinking that was the hardest thing I've ever done, even though it was only a 1-to-1 ratio with Eagles. Which in the Eagle, it's super easy. Even in the Viper, if you have a 1-to-1 ratio, it's not really that hard to actually implement and get things done. So for me, I that was the moment in time where I knew I was kind of over my head when it comes to leading this Eagle flight. But like I always say in simulators, no one's in danger. No one's gonna die. So I mean, there's no like actual danger happening, but mentally it is very very taunting and very very daunting of me actually doing it, because I was like, it went by super fast, and it was just crazy crazy crazy. But I did enjoy it, and I continue to fly the Eagle. I have a whole bunch of other stories, but that's just one quick story that I'll talk about in this sense. And just, if you haven't flown the Eagle, I really really want you to fly it, because it's a totally different game, totally different tactics, and it really opens up your mind of why, when the Eagle came out in real life, why everyone really enjoyed the Eagle and liked it as a air to air air superiority. So that's a little bit of my story. I'll probably do little bits during the podcast, but yeah, that was my story with my first Eagle flight in Falcon BMS.
Personally, I never flew the Eagle in BMS, not yet, because I was convinced that the difference between that and the Viper, which is the aircraft that I'm primarily most familiar with, I was convinced that the control scheme, the stick and throttle, would be vastly different from what I've been used to in the Viper. Um, However, I just realized, and behind the scenes here with Prime, just told me that it's not actually that much different from another aircraft that I'm familiar with, which is the Hornet that I flew when I flew DCS. So that's kind of good to know, and it'll make me give that a try at some point. But I can relate to that, being like way over your head when we're in a different aircraft that we're not familiar with. I remember feeling that exact same way when I first started trying to learn the Hornet back in BMS, DCS, excuse me.
Yeah, because it's made by McDonnell Douglas, so it is similar to the Hornet when it comes to at least the stick, because the stick is the same when it comes to the three buttons on top, the hat switch, and the trim and all that stuff. It's the same, but the throttle is a little different, and uh, a a known feature or a known control that is different from the Viper to the Eagle and the Hornet, respectively, is the cursor, or the cursor and the DMS or the TMS, the target management switch. So on the Eagle and the Hornet, you have the cursor. You can move your cursor around on the radar, and you can slew it to wherever you want. And then if you want to lock something up, you have to depress the cursor. So when you depress it, it'll lock something up, which is the same control as on the Viper when you use your TMS switch up. So it uses the same type of control, but it's on a totally different. It's on your left hand instead of your right hand. So that could be something different, especially if you're used to the Viper, and that is something that you have to get used to. Like in my story, that was something I had to get used to. I wasn't able to lock them up because I don't know what I was doing, but it just wasn't working out for me. And one of the things was probably because it uses your left hand instead of your right hand to lock things up. So there's just different dynamics when it comes to flying the Eagle. But some of the great things about it is speed. So you get up in the Eagle, you use the Eagle to its advantage. So 40,000s, Mach 1.1 at least. You're getting up there. You could be able you're able to shoot something at 50 miles and hit it as long as you do your loft. So in the Eagle, lofting is very important, as long with also with the Viper. So lofting is when you're about to shoot a missile, AIM 120, and you pull your nose up. So you raise your nose to at least 20 degrees to give the missile a starting point of 20 degrees nose up. So if you notice in Falcon BMS and maybe even some live in real life videos, you'll notice when the aircraft shoots a missile, the missile goes upwards, so it lofts itself. So if the aircraft already lofts the missile, putting into that upward in that nose up attitude, then it doesn't have to nose up anymore. So that gives the missile some time to maintain its speed without having to pull G's to increase the angle of the missile. So if you, as the F-15 or F-16, are already at 20 degrees nose up, it doesn't have to nose up. So this gives your missile a little bit more oomph when it comes to reaching the target farther away, and gives you a little bit more range in a easier term, but it gives you more in-game speed. So when it hits the target, it has a little bit more speed when it hits. The faster the speed at the end game when it hits the target, the more likely it's going to kill or disable the aircraft that it's going after. And so make sure you're lofting your missiles in the Eagle and the Viper. And especially if you're slow and you don't have enough time to actually gain more speed, and again, speed is important for missiles as well because it goes farther and goes faster. So of course, already being at Mach 1 gives your missile that much more oomph when it comes to getting to a speed that it's supposed to get to. So if you're already at Mach 1, it starts at Mach 1 and instead of starting at Mach 0.7, you're already at Mach 1. So always give the missile the best parameters off the rail to give you more distance with the missile.
Yeah, the same in the Viper, because the missile has a certain I'm not sure how long it is. Is it 5 seconds or 3 seconds? I think it might be 3 seconds
For what?
of for the burn time.
Oh yeah, I don't know exactly,
Um,
but it's like 5 seconds or something in the BMS 120. Yeah.
yeah, so basically, if you want to picture it, for those that are listening and learning air-to-air stuff, uh, the you put the missile at a certain speed. The best speed that you can put the missile at would then add on to that whatever burn time the missile engine does. So it's whatever speed you can put it on, plus whatever the missile burn time is. So basically, it's all trying to get advantage, squeeze out every advantage in that engagement, and put the missile in the best possible circumstance to then go on and hopefully hit whatever you're shooting at.
And yep, it's all about advantages, and it all depends on the your enemy. So another story with eagles, or with it could be applied with anything, but this was last week with the first mission of the year. So we did a mission last week. It was 4-ship eagles. We had also a 4-ship of vipers, and their job was to take out tanks over the flot. So in enemy territory, there were tanks underneath us, and their job was to take them out. And of course, as the Eagles, our job was to protect them from air threats. So we're protecting them from air threats. We had Starlight. Actually, we had him on the channel or on the podcast before. He actually created. It's in the campaign, dynamic campaign. So usually, in the dynamic campaign, we let the dynamic campaign create some flights, and if it's not what we want, or if it's too much, sometimes they create 12 different packages to go and attack us. We can actually do it manually. So what he did was create a realistic scenario where he had a 4-ship of 2, or a 1 4-ship, and he would spread them out in a more tactical, relevant formation. So he had a 1 4-ship, and he had them spread out like 5 miles. So you have a 5-mile spread 4-ship of flankers. That was our first wave. Meanwhile, behind them, about 20 miles, there was another wall of flankers with 2 groups. One group, or they both have 2 contacts in each group. So both groups were strength 2. So they had 2 contacts in each group, and he had those 2 groups about 10 miles in azimuth. So 10 miles line abreast. So that was our first and second wave. So this gives us, or gives the blue players, as the Eagles, a kind of like a puzzle. So we know there's a first wave of 4. Also, there is a second wave 20 miles behind that can also kill us, or also can be dangerous to us. So right now we're at a 4-ship wall. So at this moment, I notice that there is a follow-on group behind the leaders, the first wall. I actually pump my flight, which is to pump, means it's a brevity, so I say 3 and 4 pump. Pump means they're going to do a kind of like a 100 or a 360 degree turn, so they'll go out right, and they just do a spin, so they spin all the way around and come back around. That usually puts us into a trail formation or a container formation. So I have the first element of our flight, which is 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is in front. 3 and 4 did that spin, did the pump, and now they're behind us by, I would guess, probably 10, 15 miles or so. This gives us the separation to be able to attack the trailing group, that second trailing group in that enemy formation. So instead of us all going after the first group and then all turning around, and while we're turned around, we still have that secondary follow-on group coming at us. So now I split up the flight to be able to take both groups right after one another. So the 2 of us, we take out the 4-ship, and then we turn off cold, and then our follow-on element behind us are now flowing hot with the leader of that package being turning cold or defending or doing something, so they're not coming hot anymore. So our secondary element takes out the trailing element, and we get that, and it's all good. But I know it's kind of hard to explain it in words, but it's very, very good tactics, and it's very, very good lessons learned when it comes to knowing what to do in a situation. And that's basically what Falcon BMS is, and being a virtual fighter pilot, I guess, when it comes to being in situations and knowing what to do in that situation, because you've either seen the situation before yourself, or you were in debrief with someone else who had the same situation, And those are kind of the two ways. There are some times where you're in a situation you've never seen before. You've never seen this situation before. You're not really quite, you don't know quite what to do, but you could use your previous situations to and experiences to understand what you should do in that specific situation. For me, there's no wrong decision. Well, of course there's wrong decisions, but when it comes to flying in a formation, debatably, the only wrong decision is no decision. So if you make no decision, which is also a decision, that could be the wrong thing to do. If you make a decision and do something, at least you're trying to do something. You're not just letting whatever happen. So there is no wrong decisions. There are definitely more right decisions, but if you're going to make a decision, just make it really quick, and whatever it is, no one's in danger, no one's dying. And in a real life thing, probably they say something else. But in simulator world, there is no wrong decision. The only wrong decision is to not make a decision. So experiences and being able to know when to do something is something that BMS and other simulators have that could really help you out in making decisions based on your experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'd say, especially in BMS, the it's what we keep bringing up, but I think it always stands true, is the fact that the dynamic campaign will always without fail, pretty much, if you play it for any extended amount of time, it will always throw curveballs at you and force you to improvise, to adapt to different situations, uh, things that you didn't initially expect, but they are there in front of you. So what are you going to do? And I think that's the one of the incredible things that the BMS dynamic campaign and other dynamic campaigns and other simulators provide, as long as, of course, they are relatively they are functional. I'm not sure how for example, the IL-2 dynamic campaign, how that works. It does have a dynamic campaign, doesn't it? I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure. I don't, to my usage and understanding it, I haven't seen one, but it might.
Oh,
I don't know.
I might be thinking. I might be thinking of a different simulator. Anyway, the like I was saying, the type the great thing about the dynamic campaign is that it will push you and force you to think outside the box, to consider things that you hadn't before, and present you with situations that you might need to improvise, do something different, something that maybe you didn't expect doing and wasn't briefed. So you go out there and you are flying somewhere, and then turns out that the situation is quite different. So you need to adapt, and I think that's pretty good.
Definitely adapting. And the dynamic campaign, it does throw some curveballs which you don't expect. And there's also curveballs that I've seen is you based on the enemies at hand, based on the situation at hand, you technically can't do the mission anymore. So what should happen in a simulator world, you should abort or at least protect yourself. So shoot all the missiles you can, protect yourself, have the strikers or whoever is doing the non air to air combat have them dump their missiles and help us to get out. So sometimes in a campaign you just have to abort the mission and just protect yourself and go back home and then try it again another time. Has that ever happened to you, Fiskus, in a mission where you literally couldn't do the mission based on a sea of red enemies? You had to abort the mission and go home.
Oh, all the time. I think I brought this up on a different on one of the episodes, but I'll recap it. There was a one mission that I flew years ago. Basically, it was just us going up, our group going up into North Korea, uh, striking some facility. I'm not sure if it was factories, if there were airfields involved, but it was a deep strike basically. And the situation was, it was just, the North Korean Air Force was pretty much grounded, or their airfields were inoperable, or their aircraft were just blown up. So there wasn't much of a factor. So in the end of the day, when we do go out and start heading up there, we go up there and we take fuel. So this takes a long time, or a little while. This takes a little while, and then it takes some more time to fly up there. But by the time we get to the target area, China had entered the war. And then as that happens, they had started to scramble or put a bunch of aircraft in the air that basically strike packages coming south, and basically we run headfirst into them. So we absolutely need to start seeing all these contacts on the radar. This was before Link 16 times, but it was very evident that this situation doesn't work anymore. We need to get out of here, and so we did. I because of the initial surprise of it, I think we lost some aircraft in there, but we didn't lose the entire package, so that was nice. But yeah, that's something that like you were saying, if don't push a bad situation, especially on the dynamic campaign, if you plan on flying it for a long time, because aircraft that you lose in the dynamic campaign is aircraft that you're gonna then have to wait until replacement comes around. You lose the aircraft, you lose the equipment in the aircraft, weapons in the that the aircraft might have loaded, and the first thing, and I've brought this up before, the first thing that always runs out in dynamic campaigns is external fuel tanks, and for the Viper, that is essential to go anywhere. So that's the first thing to run out. So if you're losing the aircraft plus the fuel tank plus the TGP plus all the weapons that you didn't deploy, that's going to be something that might come back and bite you further on down the line.
Yeah, with the tanks, they're I don't know if it's fixed or not, but if you come back with the tanks, it's still depleted. I believe that's how it works at the moment. I don't think they fixed it yet.
So you're saying that basically, even if we come back with the tanks, they are considered as expended or used up or deployed, like
Yes,
bombs.
yes,
Huh. I was unaware of that.
yeah, because it goes down. So and other people, that's why when some people say, that's why some people don't jettison their tanks when they're out. So even though they're empty, doesn't mean, I mean, you can if you're especially in trouble and you need that extra speed and less drag, you can jettison your tanks. But for the once they fix it might be fixed, but I'm still under the impression that it does it because tanks go by really really fast. So the best thing to do would be to keep your tanks once they fix this thing, because when you lose your tanks, you lose your legs in the F-16, because we all know it doesn't go very far. So that's something you really need in the F-16. But the Eagle is a little different story because it has a lot of fuel.
That is I was unaware of that. That is something that I will keep in mind, because like you were just saying, I am a big advocate of keep your tanks, don't jettison your tanks. But I was unaware of this situation where the tanks actually are considered being expended, released, or jettisoned or whatever. That's interesting. Okay.
Yep, because I know it was a problem before, and I haven't seen anything where they fixed it. But it might be fixed. But I still see tanks being like used up, even though you come back with them.
So call to action here. Everybody go into the BMS forum and spam fix the tanks, fix the tanks.
Yes,
I'm
fix the
just
tank,
kidding.
fix
Please
them,
don't do
fix them.
it.
Or you could test it
Please
out and
don't
see
do
if it
it.
actually works. But I do recall them like getting low, pretty low.
Yeah.
It
No,
might have
that
been
actually
fixed.
makes sense, because
It might have been fixed with 3.8,
hopefully.
because we have only done with what, maybe 10 months or 9 months of 3.8, so I haven't been able to test it again. So it might be fixed with 3.8, but I haven't tested it specifically. But it's been a problem for years.
Mm. I'll have to look into that, but it might not be now that I'm thinking about it. The one thing on my campaign that we are pretty much on the on the single player campaign that I'm flying in. I noticed most of the aircraft that I see landing in the base, bringing back their fuel tanks. The fuel tanks are still considered like running low, so it might not be fixed, unfortunately. Yeah, they'll get around to it.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
So with so with you, have you ever flown with the UAF? They have like large on Saturdays right now. There's about 12 of them in there. Usually have more than that. But have you ever flown with them in a large package mission with like 30 people?
No, I have not. Not with them. I've flown with big. I've flown in big packages back when I was in the first VFW. I used to fly in packages like 20 something, 30 people, which was pretty great. I also flew a couple of times with the folks over at Falcon events. They
Oh
also
yeah.
put on some very big packages uh, of different groups, as you know.
Yep.
And everybody like coordinating and getting stuff done together is very nice to see. Um, but yeah, not with that particular group, but I have flown a bunch with in big packages and big events.
Oh, yeah, that's where the most of the stories come from. Now I've been flying for years, a decade now, and they all kind of come together. I have to go on my videos and like refresh my memory of what happened. But there is a few that sticks out at me. I think it was during TVT, but it was either UAF or Falcon Lounge doing TVT. But it was like this like two-stage mission where we had the flight, the first, we had two waves. So the first flight would start at a time, and then the second flight would start like 2 hours later. So we had a continuous wave of two packages going in on a mission. So I was part of both. So it was like 5 hours where I committed to this time because it was during TBT and we COVID, we didn't have anything to do anyway. So the first mission was, I think it was in Nordic, so we were like in uh Norway or something. So it was up in the north. So it was like snowy and stuff, and the weather wasn't great. So we took off, and well, the plan was to take out the SA-17s and SA-11s to get to their base. That was roughly the plan of that day. So the first wave would take out the SA-17s and SA-8s or SA-11s, and then the second wave would take out the base. That was the plan with this with our thing, along with all the scramblers. So TVT, the other side, has humans, so they could see us logging into the server, and they could suspect that something's going to happen. So they all come together and do basically a DCA, a defensive counter air over their airbase. So we take off. I think it was like 12 of us. So we take off. I'm in the F-16. Our plan was very dynamic. Our plan was to take off, do a tank, so we could delay them from knowing when we're going to take off. So once we took off, we would delay the whole package by like 30 minutes to hope for them to have less fuel and be bored or whatever. Who knows? So we're just like doing whatever it takes to have them not be there at the same time we are. So we're up there tanking, then we continue, and the plan was to have all of the seed flight underneath the SA-11s and SA-17s and do a pop-up for the SAMs, which was completely crazy. We got a few of them, but most of us didn't really make it out. So we're down low in the trees. There's snow everywhere. The clouds is very low. We can't really see anything for past like 10 miles or something. So we're low. At the same time that we're low, the humans on the other side are in their F-16s looking at us down low. So we're under the veil, the veil of the SAMs, trying not to go high. Also, we're trying to dodge the enemy aircraft that are shooting us at us down low. So imagine you're trying to dodge a missile coming at you from 30,000 feet, but you can't go up in altitude because you're underneath the SA-17. So that was a crazy situation that we were in, and I was dodging back and forth, dodging SA-17s. Those small little hills, so you can kind of get behind the hills to to terrain mask the SA-17s, but when it comes to the aircraft, you can't terrain mask that because they're at 25, 30,000 feet. So the only good thing is that we're in thicker air. So thicker air for enemy air threats is that they have an AIM-120. They shoot it at 30,000 feet. Has to go all the way from 30,000 feet to literally the deck. We were like 100 feet off the ground. So if you do little tiny turns, it usually burns the missile's energy because it has to go through the thicker air. So that wasn't quite an issue, but it was the secondary issue. The primary issue was of course the SAM. So we had two huge issues there. So we're going through and I'm dodging the SAMs, dodging the missiles. I get my CBUs off. I think I hit one of the SA-17s, which we all know that the SA-17s they travel in like four. So there's another three of them in that 17 nest. So I come out, I'm dodging missiles on my way out. My wingman gets shot, and I think the visibility was really bad. So we had a couple people hit the ground, but it was completely crazy. So we all return with our tails between our legs and going back home, and then I get out the game, come back in, and I go again as the secondary package. So we do pretty much the same thing, but we're able to get a little bit closer because we have I think we put in growlers. So we had some FA-18 growlers to disable the SAMs, and we're able to fight the air threats at that point. So we had some humans again come with us again, and we're able to fight them. We're fighting them. We're fighting them, and we don't have the SAMs. So what we did is we kind of did the same thing. We had people down low and people up high, and we hoped that the enemies would not see the people down low, even because of the scan radar of the scan pattern of their radar and trying to get into ground clutter. So that worked for a little while. The people up high did their long loft, so we lofted missiles, cranked, and came out. And then the people underneath, they had radars off, and it was before Link 16, so no one had Link 16. So the people underneath had their element of surprise. They would come really low, turn on their radars, pop up like 45 degrees, pop up, and shoot missiles from below. And they got most of the kills because the humans didn't really expect that to happen, which was pretty cool because we baited them as the decoys up in the air at 30,000 feet, saying, "Hey, we're here! Look at us! Look at us!" But unbeknownst to them, we had people at 100 feet coming from underneath them and shooting at them from there. So that was a very memorable time in multiplayer for me with actual humans, which is actually really cool. But that's one of my favorite missions that I had, which lasted like 5 hours, which is kind of insane.
One of my favorite ones is again still with the first VFW back in the day. Was one where the mission maker, I think it was Demo, that cooked this particular mission up. So the idea was we were flying in ITO. It was the theater we were using, and the plan was to go and bomb some facilities over in Syria. So we took off. We went. I think we were like flying NATO. Yes, because I was in an F-18, and a bunch of guys were in Vipers. So we take off from, I want to say, Akrotiri, and us and the Hornets take off from the carrier, something like that. We go out, and the plan was this was PVE. There were no human opposition, but we played it like it was there were humans in control. So the idea was to go and have go over to Israel, and under the pretext of a training exercise, we were to approach an air base. I'm not sure which one it was. It might have been Ramat David. It's been several years since this happened. But the idea was to go up there and fly over to Ramat David, do a bunch of traffic calls like we were just getting ready to land over there, and near the area of this airbase, whichever one it was, a canyon starts going north. So basically, we go in low. We like simulate that we are getting in the pattern, in the traffic pattern, and then we just duck down under that canyon and just push on north. And completely, like, it was night. Everybody on night visions, it's pitch black. And this particular mission had like 20 something people. I wanna say something along those lines. A bunch of people flying through that canyon, and I don't know how Demo figured out where that canyon was. I guess he flew a lot over that area. But I still recall, like, at night vision, a bunch of aircraft, like, we're all in the same area, following the time on target to the letter. Everybody trying to not hit each other, not hit the side of the canyon, and no one talks. The plan is completely calms out. No one talks until after we strike. So basically, we go up there. We see on the RW War they had like MiG-23s, but we were so low, and the MiG-23 doesn't have very good look down radar, I don't think. In any case, they never saw us coming. So we go up there. We exit the canyon, and we're just to the south of Damascus. We go up, fly over Damascus, pop up, do a pop up attack. A bunch of guys, each flight of 2 goes after their assigned targets, and it plays out like beautifully. Everybody strikes the target on time. I remember looking, like, as I am pulling out of my dive after releasing my bombs, looking over my shoulder and seeing like explosions simultaneous with my one, like my bombs and my wingman's bombs, or my lead's bombs, exploding. I look back and I see bomb blasts going off in different locations of the of the uh, of the target area, or the several targets that we were striking. So that was pretty cool. And then we came out, and I think we had to shoot some sparrows at some MiG 23s that did end up coming over and getting in our way. We didn't lose anyone to them, but we did lose someone to a bomb blast of their own bomb, which was kind of to lose someone,
Yeah.
to lose people like this. It's kind of, come on, man.
Yes. It's like, oh no,
The
why that happened? It's awful.
Yeah, out of everything, like, you losing someone to air defense, fine. Losing someone to enemy fighters that were there, fine. But just auto fragging yourself, come on. So yeah, that happened. Don't less. So basically, the lesson you can take out from this is, don't underestimate the bomb blast, because it will mess you up. It will not only mess up the enemy the target it hits, but it also, if you're low enough, it's gonna get you. It doesn't really bother itself with not hitting hitting friendlies or the aircraft that released it. So be careful.
Yeah, definitely the low indication on your HUD. I think it comes up as low, so sometimes the missile won't come off, but sometimes the bomb won't come off, but some bombs come off anyway, and the frag of the bomb actually hits you. So make sure you're not too low, because yeah, that's a big thing. They have the ones that, I think, the high drag, where they have either the parachute or the fins come out to slow down the bomb, so it's not going your speed, so it doesn't explode underneath you. So those would be used for low attacks. Usually the F-111s had those and stuff, but I think there's a couple videos of F-16s doing it. But you ripple them all off, they all slow down, and they blow up a little bit behind you to allow you time to get away from the bomb blast. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people explode right next to me during their bomb drops, and they just explode. I'm like, oh god, there's another. I always think it's an IR missile, so a man pad shooting them, and I'm next gonna explode now. But it's usually just them fragging themselves, which is totally embarrassing when it comes to being able to have all these different enemies and you get shot by your own or killed by your own bomb.
Yeah, it just again, it goes to show that the low indication that you get on your HUD when you're deploying bombs, follow what it says. If it says low, you are low, and you will most likely get blown up
Yep.
by your own bomb. So yeah, keep that in mind.
Exactly, because it'll hit you. It'll get you. And sometimes it doesn't get you completely. It just takes out your engine or takes out your HUD or your electronics or whatever. So it degrades your ability to return home, and you're in the middle of the enemies. So you don't want to do that. There was a low mission that we had. It was years ago at the 6th. So we were attacking an airbase on the coast. I forgot what the year it was, but we were attacking the airbase on the coast. So it was an airbase, and there was a water right next to it. So we were attacking the airbase, and that's after we took out the SA-6 and a couple of air threats. So we took out the air threats, took out the SA-6, and now my element, so it was me and someone else, my wingman, went down low, and we had two runways. So we were trying to do both runways at the same time. So it was two perpendicular runways. So it was like runway 9 and runway 18. So they were perpendicular to each other, and they crossed the end. So we timed it where, one, we wouldn't hit each other when we were both going at the same time, and two, we had different altitudes. So he was a little bit lower than me, I was a little bit higher. So if we were in the same spot at the same exact time, at least we weren't at the same altitude. So we're going in to attack, and I see the runway, so I'm lining up with the runway. We had these the BLUs, so they would parachute and they would like penetrate themselves into the concrete and explode. So it's like actual bunker or runway busters to bust out the runway. So we both had the same type of bombs. So we're going in CCIP, which is the visual the visual bombing site. So you have the little lollipop and the dot on the ground, the impact point, and you would pickle them off at the impact point. So you had to be pretty low. So the lowness didn't matter in this case because they had a parachute in it, and it took them a while for you to get away. So we were low enough to drop them and not low enough to hit the ground. So as we're going in, we get an SA-8 on the RWR. So we have that SA-8 come up, and we're like, oh my goodness, an SA-8. An SA-8 is a short-range missile. If you're not aware, the listeners, if you're not aware, an SA-8 is a short-range missile, but it's super dangerous, super deadly, and it only shoots you within 5 or 10 miles. So that gives you about 5 seconds to react before it hits you after it launches. So with being that it came up on the RWR, that means that it's probably on the airfield, and we're going towards the airfield to attack it. So we have to get ready to get shot at it or get shot from it. So I'm looking around the area for man pads, number one, because man pads you don't get a RWR warning, you just see a smoke trail. So I'm looking for smoke trails for anything, looking at trying to make sure that I'm on the right runway, making sure I'm at the right altitude, making sure there's no AAA, making sure my bombs are armed, like making sure all these different things before I get in. Once I get in, the SA come up, and now I'm super concerned. So I say MUD SA-11 over the radio, so my wingman on the other side of the airfield knows as well. And he's in front of me, so he is in my field of view attacking, and I see a couple of his bombs go off in front of me, or to like my 11 o'clock or so. So his bombs goes off, and then I see a smoke trail. So I see a smoke trail, and I say missile in the air over the radio, so he knows that there's something, like something's going on. So I see the smoke come up, it goes past him, so it misses him. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then now it's my turn to start shooting at this point. So I start pickling off my bombs. I get a launch warning of a SA-8. So I have a decision to make. I could either defend this SA-8 or continue with the bombs. So I decide to continue with the bombs. So I continue with the bombs. SA-8 is screaming at me. It's going crazy. RWR is yelling at me. And then I don't get hit because it should take like 2 seconds. Like if you get hit with an SA, or if you get launched at with the SA-8 and you're on in the vicinity where it is, you have a couple seconds before you die. So I didn't get hit after 2 seconds, so I assumed I was okay. So I continued, and then as I continued, I saw the last bomb of my wingman go off, and I saw another smoke trail. So he gets another SA-8 shoots at him. So he goes defensive SA-8, and he turns to try to, because he's done it with his bomb, so now he's going to defend. So he turns and tries to defend the bomb, and he gets hit. So I'm like, no. So I'm like, fours down over the radio, and I'm continuing my bomb run, and I have my last bomb, and at this point, there's AAA going everywhere. So you see the the actual tracers of bullets going past my canopy, above me, below me, like all over the place. So there's a whole bunch of tracers going all over the place. I was going about 500 knots. So usually with AAA or Shelkas, they can't. They have a less. It's less likely for them to hit you if you're going faster than 500 knots. It's just how BMS works. They can't get that lead correct. So I'm going 500 knots, not getting hit by the bullets. So my wingman's dead. I'm past the runway with my last bombs off. I get feet wet, so now I'm over the water, and I get another launch of the SA-8. So I'm like defensive SA-8. So I'm going really fast now. So now I kick it back in the afterburner, and I'm doing my little weaves like 10 feet, 10, 15 feet off the water, trying to get the weaves in. So I'm turning left, turning right, trying to get up. Chaff is going out. I'm doing all these different things. And again, the 3-4 seconds I wait, and I'm like, I'm not dead. So I continue going straight, and then at like the 7-second mark, I explode. So there was still a missile at me, even though it should have been dead already. But I guess that missile or that SA-8 was closer to the coast than the other one, so it gave it a little bit more advantage when it comes to getting close to me. And then so I died. I waited for my bombs to go off. I was actually able to eject, so that was actually good. So my engine went off, and I went over the radio to say that I'm hit, going down off the coast of the runway, and I ejected from the airplane, and I actually got rescued in the aftermath. And we destroyed the airfield, destroyed the SA-6, and got what we had to get done. But the lessons learned in this is not really a lessons learned, but it's that you could do literally everything right and still get shot down, even though that the situation is really, really bad and it's getting worse by the second. You could still do everything right, and you still aren't able to make it back home and like land the airplane. But at least, like I said before, in a simulator, no one's in danger and all that stuff. But we're still able to get the task at hand completed, and it's definitely a one of those things story you tell in a podcast that people would enjoy. But that was probably one of my favorite missions, and I think I have a video of it on the channel. But while editing, I noticed that I actually see the missile go, like the SA-8 missile, go into my field of view in front of me. So there's a frame in there where I see the missile in front of my my nose that missed me. So I see the missile go through my field of view and actually miss me. So I thought that was pretty crazy when it comes to going down really low and trying to drop bombs on an airfield protected by an SA-8.
Yeah, SA-8s are tricky, and this is why, and this is also another one of the reasons why everybody wants to wants everybody for some reason I keep coming across people that always want to do like low level, like they've watched too much Top Gun Maverick or
I
something.
know,
I
yeah,
don't
low
know.
level is fun, but I mean it's super dangerous, and it's like, yes, yeah, it's super dangerous.
Yeah, everybody wants to do low level, and I get the benefits behind going low level and all that. But you need to consider, like, especially on modern settings, SA-8s are dime a dozen, I would say. They're all over the place. Uh, and not just that, other threats, even more dangerous things are down there,
Yeah, you got
down
man,
low.
man pads.
Manpads,
Yep.
Tunguskas,
Oh
SA-15s.
yeah,
SA-15s are the bane of my existence.
they're really bad.
Been
They
schwacked by them
all
so
the time.
much. They are pretty bad. Uh, one unrelated, but one mission that I really enjoyed. It was a short one, and it was an ITO, and we were in Akrotiri, and basically the premises were getting we detected incoming enemy aircraft. This was during a campaign, but this was like a campaign that I was running, and I basically, instead of putting out a mission for the following week, I just say on the briefing that there is a threat incoming to the airbase, and I set a hard timer for 5 minutes for people, like, to, as soon as we load into the server, 5 minutes, everybody needs to get into the aircraft. There's no briefing. There's only like comp plan. We flight 1 is on channel 15, flight 2 is in 16, whatever. So basically, everybody needs to get in the aircraft, and get ready to go. I didn't even mention where they were supposed to go. I just said everybody needs to be ready to go.
It,
But
is it like a scramble, or you're just kind of like getting into the game, or is it more of a scramble scenario?
no, a legit scramble scenario. I
Nice.
even had, I remember I even had like I was playing on my phone by my microphone. The scramble siren.
Yo, yeah, yeah.
I even
I've
had
done that too.
I
Yeah,
even
it's fun.
I even had that going uh, to reinforce when everybody was in the server or everybody
Yeah.
was in not Discord. I think it was TeamSpeak back in the day. But I had the siren blasting, like everybody needs to go and get ready like now. So yeah, so that was pretty fun. And then when they got, I knew where the aircraft were coming from. So basically, I was kind of playing the part of I don't think I was a number 4 or number 2 on that specific mission. But I was also playing the part of like the GCI of like, okay, the enemy aircraft are coming from southwest. I think it was the enemy aircraft are massing and coming from the southwest. We detect them southwest. So push everybody over there. I don't think we lost anybody. I think the guys that flew that day did very well. But that was pretty interesting, and people got up to speed and got ready to go like really quick, and that was really cool. I thought that went pretty well. Went much better than I thought because like the timeline of who was departing when, who was departing first, who was departing second wasn't really clear, and I made a point to not have that clear because again I didn't have a briefing. So basically, they were starting up the aircraft, and then when they came up on comms, I started dispatching flights. And still throughout all that chaos, the guys that flew were did really well. And yeah, that was a pretty interesting event. That was the only time I participated in an event like that specifically. I don't know if you have if you've played out like scramble scenarios.
Oh yeah, I've done it. So done the same type of thing. It was I think we were in Korea theater. We were in Japan. I think it was Japan. Yeah, we were in Japan, so it's like the corner of the map. And the scenario was that because we usually do these campaigns and we start somewhere and then we have a cross country flight. We go to Japan, or we're in different we're in the Balkans. Like we fly from uh, Italy to like Greece. Like we always move our squadrons to get closer depending on the situation of the campaign. So in this campaign, we were in Japan, and we were basically running because the China we simulated China like taking over Korea, and we're like have to divert to Japan to continue defending ourselves. So in this case, it was a scramble. So I had like 10 minutes from like start time, which is we usually start top of the hour, and we had was a small little brief saying scramble scramble flight Viper 1, Eagle 2, whatever, and I give a general direction of where they're coming from. I give them our own SAMs where we have SAMs at, and I give them a aircraft type kind of. So I had played the same scramble, so it was like, dude, scramble, scramble. It was play all that. We scrambled through the start sequence. Once everybody gets started, whenever you are ready, you take off. So whoever was ready first took off first, and we had our lanes of responsibility. So I think we had 3 flights. So we had like a south lane, a middle lane, and a north lane, and we went to our respective lanes. And I made sure to brief that this is a DCA, which is a defensive counter air. There is no reason for us to chase them. They should be coming to us. Additionally, there is no reason to to fight them outside of our Patriot ring. So the Patriot's like 50 something miles. So to the best of our abilities, we will stay within this Patriot ring to be able to give us a little bit more of an advantage. So it was actually an overwhelming picture. I made it like basically impossible. So I had Su-33s down low. I had the Tu-22s, which is the B-1 Russia equivalent. So they had their supersonic bombers coming in. Down low had the Bears, the large prop planes that the Russians have. Had some Su-30s, some MiG-29s, 27s. Like I had literally everything, and it was in waves. So the first wave was like a four ship of flankers or whatever. And then while this is happening, the the bombers, the Tu-22s, they were down low coming from, so most of the stuff was coming from the northwest. I had the bombers come from the northeast, kind of behind us ish. So I had them come that way down low. And the first time I made the mission, so I knew what was going on. So I actually gave them a hint that I have hits, or AWACS gave them a hint saying that, oh, there's a bomber down low, 5,000 feet, bullseye, whatever, and it's behind us. So that gave a huge wrench into everybody's plans. So the package leader gave the responsibility of one of the lanes to go and take out the bombers. We took out most of the bombers, but the SU the escorts, they took out most of us, and most of us died. Like we didn't succeed at all. But the dynamics of a scramble and not knowing what the briefing is, just using all of the baseline training that you have when it comes to the BPR timeline, when it comes to the formations, when it comes to knowing what your lead needs to do in a certain situation. So it always helps to do those things so you can all be on the same page without getting you to the same page, and working together as a team in a very, very unlikely scenario where you're going to make it out. But those type of things are always very, very fun because it creates a dynamic that doesn't usually happen when it comes to scrambles, because it's super dynamic, it's very, very difficult, and just I guess the not like LARPing, like we're basically role playing as us being a protecting Japan from enemy fighters. But that was definitely another one of my favorite missions when it comes to scrambling. I've only done that a couple times, but I need to do some more scramble missions. But yeah, that was my story for scrambling in Japan.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not exactly very easy to organize, but when it's when it's done, when it's pulled off, I would say it's very nice to experience. And that also goes to reinforce a point that I think some people don't don't initially pay very much attention to, or maybe not aware of, is the fact that when you are dealing with air threats, you need to keep in mind your radar's altitude coverage. Um, if you are going from, I don't know, from 30,000 feet down to 11,000 feet, the aircraft that is at 10,000 feet, you will not see them.
Yep.
Um, and that is then that can come back around and cause problems to you. So, especially with Link 16, that it helps out. It helps out some, or quite a bit, I would say. But yeah, keep in mind the fact that you need to modulate that the altitude coverage of your radar, because it is easy to not like to. And I've done this myself, and I've been in flights where this happens to a wingman. It is easy to have happen a situation where you just, okay, I'm focused on this aircraft, focus on this aircraft. I hear a call out, I ignore it, and then turns out is a second aircraft that is slightly low and maybe behind of the other aircraft, but because I'm not looking at that in that altitude area, it just sneaks by me, and then like we have problems, and maybe someone gets shut down or everybody gets shut down, something like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the depending on your squadron, your standard operating procedures. Usually, the the airspace is split up by the flight. So you have your lead, or your wingman, or not your wingman, your flight lead. So your 1 and your 3 are getting high. So they get like 15,000 and above, or whatever number you say. So they get 15,000 and above, and we know that the window of the radar can go more than that, but generally you would say 15,000 and above. And then the secondary, your wingman, would get 15,000 and below. So I'm making up numbers here. Usually the it depending on how many bars you're using, but for the Viper, you would have about, you would probably set it at like 20,000 to like -5, or whatever it is. I'm making stuff up. So you would cover that 15,000 and below. So you have two people out of your four covering 15,000 and below, and then you have the other two people out of the four covering the 15,000 and above. So this helps out when it comes to not being able to search the entire sky, because if you're searching the entire sky, it takes forever for the bars to actually go through, and you're wasting time when it comes to knowing where everybody is. And plus, you might not even get a return from them because it takes the radar that long to go through. So you might miss them. So you have some people focusing up high, and you have people focusing down low to make sure that you're covering the entire airspace more effectively than having everybody search whatever they want to search. Because sometimes, as you said, it could be a problem because not many people, or people should know or be cognizant of their scan pattern of the radar, because you can miss someone at 100 feet, like in our TVT scenario with the decoys being up high.
Exactly. I think this was something that happened when on another curious mission that I participated in. So it was again an ITO. I used to fly in ITO a lot. I love that theater. It's been always very well made. So yeah, it was an ITO, and it was a. I don't think it was if I recall, it was not in a campaign flight. It was a tactical engagement. But the scenario was we take off from Makratiri over in Cyprus. We fly all the way down to along the coast of the Red Sea. Wait, is my geography failing me? Give me a second. I don't want to
Red Sea and
start
ITO, I think
saying
that's
stuff that's wrong. Yes, the Red Sea.
yeah.
So basically, we fly down from Cyprus to the Red Sea along the west coast of Saudi Arabia. We had tankers waiting, and then we had to turn in west to go after some targets in deeper in Egypt, all the way across. So basically, back, and I know the map is larger now; it encompasses a larger area. But basically, we were at the top of the map. If we look at a 2D perspective, we're at the top of the map. We go to the lower right of the map, and then we go across the map to the left. So basically, we go southeast and then west. And then we have to, after we strike the target in Egypt, we have to go back out east where the tankers are still waiting, take some more fuel, and then we go back to Agratiri to land. And I think we lost people on that flight. And if I am not mistaken, it was because of this situation where like they had air defenses, fighters that came up to intercept us, and I don't want to. I might be misremembering because this was very very long ago, but I think the situation was like one of the aircraft sneaked under the radar coverage of the escorts, and that's how they got to shoot some. I think we only lost one person, the one aircraft, but that was the situation. That was the longest flight I ever took part of, and I was in a Mirage. Yes, I was in a Mirage 2000-5. Um, and that mission, I want to say, took around 6 hours, if I'm not mistaken. It
Dang.
was really really long. Like I
Yeah.
felt, I felt my bottom like shaped like my chair that I
Yeah, it's
had at the
just
time.
sitting down for a
It
long
was
period of time,
tremendous.
and it goes by
Yeah,
really
it
fast.
was. Yeah, when it's happening, it's like you don't notice it at all, or you don't notice it that much.
Yep.
But but after a while, if after something that takes that long, um, you start you'll feel it, especially after it's over. But it was pretty fun. I really enjoyed that one. What about you? What about like some like really long range missions you've been a part of?
Yeah, I think the longest one was the one I had earlier with the 4 hours with the tanking. Those some other ones that were pretty close, where it was like it was more of a let's see, it was an F-15, so it was recently, and we had the tank in the middle of it. So it was kind of like we had a two two shifts for F-16s. So we had the first shift of F-16s go out and do their thing, and then later on we had the second shift of F-16. So we had to cover two shifts of F-16. So we were up there for three, like in the air, actual airborne, for like 3 hours, and that's fun because we had to adjust our time for the time zone of folks. So to get more people to play, we had to adjust our time zone or our starting time. So we shifted it, and we had two. So we had the earlier time and a later time, and more people actually came. So we had to protect those two flights or two packages of F-16s taking out tanks for about 3 hours. The first one, nothing happened. So we had an hour and a half of nothing. So that was kind of boring. And then we tanked, and then we came back, and like it's like the first flight took a break and went all in the second flight. So we had basically we had two times as many enemies, it seemed like, from the second wave than the first wave. So I think it was we had some Chinese stuff in there. So we had some J11s and J15s. So they had the PL12, which are very capable of shooting you down. So we had a very large MAR, minimum abort rate, or a rate uh, minimum abort
Range.
range. So we had, it was very large, larger than the AA12s. So we had that. We were doing our thing tactically and doing all this stuff, and we only had one get a leaker, and the F-16s had to like scram, which is like not retreat, but pull back back towards the airbase because we had a leaker. He actually got in. He was low, so we weren't looking that low, and he was defending his missile, and he got low, and then he stayed low and went underneath us and got to the Vipers. So we had a scrambler there. The Vipers had to kind of protect themselves on that. But that was one of the longest missions that I had in the Eagle. It was about 3.5 hours, like in the air, actually airborne.
Yeah, those can get up there, especially when you start factoring in like oh, this mission requires you to go and go over and take fuel from the tanker on the way in and also on the way out, because it's not going to be sufficient, especially
Yep.
if you were over at the target zone or on the way getting shot at. You maybe need to jettison your tanks to get some more out of the aircraft. But yeah, those are pretty always pretty interesting, but very time consuming. It's I personally I wish I could still do them, but I just can't. Like I'm no longer as if I was still single and without children, then fine. But it's not that case anymore. So unfortunately, I can't commit to like having like 6 hour flights like I used to, as much as I missed them.
Yeah, same. It's not with kids, but it's just like with time. Like I need to either like house chores, work, or just taking a break from the week, and just doing different things like that, because 6 hours is a big chunk of your day. And then you have to, if you want, usually in the long missions we don't debrief because it's like we spent 3 hours in the air or whatever. So we just do a little quick debrief where we're saying, did you finish your mission? Who died? And why do you think they died? And that's it, because we can't go over the whole thing because debriefs can take forever. But in the segue of your of time consuming and not having the time to commit for BMS, we could talk a little bit about the survey that was conducted. If you haven't seen the video, I'll put it in the description below. But I did a Falcon BMS questionnaire of 2025. It lasted the last month or so of 2025. I went over some questions in there, and I go over it in full detail in the video. But there are one of the things that made sense, and it kind of alludes to what you were talking about earlier, Fiskus, is that the time consuming. So I did a question on here that had, what hinders you from your which of the following significantly hinders you from Falcon BMS user experience? There was a good chunk of people that said the amount of time, the mission commit time required. So we all know it takes a long time to do that. A good chunk of people said that that is a significantly hindrance of their user experience when it comes to mission commit and time. That is, it was the number one. The second one was the lack of flyable aircraft. So those are the top two uh, reasons that people say that significantly hinders their user experience. And yeah, so if you haven't seen that questionnaire, go ahead and take a look at it. It's a video you can watch, and I go over some of this. I go over what I actually see and some of my analysis of what I think and why I think something is the way it is and why people chose some stuff. But go ahead and look at that, and it's a really good video, and it's a good insight into how the BMS community is.
You might see some if you're looking at that video, you might see some things that might actually surprise you, because looking at the results here, there is a significant portion, 15.2% of people that have been flying in under a year. There's the larger portion, larger slice, is people who have been flying for 16 years plus. This is this is very significant. I think I include myself in this bracket here. But the amount of newcomers into BMS is very significant, especially with 438 and the graphical enhancements that brought, and other improvements that it brought. I would say the other one that is also I would relate to BMS getting VR would be the 2 to 5 years since they started playing. Wouldn't you agree, Prime? This would be around the time 437 came out, correct? I think it
Yes,
is.
it's about the time where the VR came out for them, and that's
Mhm.
probably a good majority of the people who started playing because of VR. So the 2 to 5 players, or 1 to 2 players, 2 years, it's about 15-16%. So they are probably the ones that were brought to BMS because of VR.
Yeah, and then a significant amount of people that started last year or under a year because of 4.38. That was very very significant. There's a lot of new eyes in BMS, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that one, yeah,
Um,
3.8 was something that people wanted to. A lot of people started joining. Well, there was a whole bunch of Falcon Lounge absolutely exploded with the amount of new people coming in because of 4.38. So that 1 year is mostly the people who came to BMS because of the new graphics.
yep. Another thing that surprised me is the amount of people that use VR. The pie chart shows there's a straight up just VR section with 25%, 25.3%, and then there's a section with both that's 16.2%. So these people have VR as well. I knew that VR was how do I want to, what's the wording, an up and coming thing, a growing thing in our community. I did not expect it to be this prevalent, because it's almost half of the users, but there is still a very significant portion of people that use TrackIR or an equivalent head tracking hardware and software. I think that is, to me, that was surprising, the amount of folks that fly VR. But I can understand the appeal, because I fly VR myself from time to time, and it is something else that is quite the experience.
And another thing with that is 10% don't have any head tracker. So you have people using either the one of the buttons on your stick to be able to look around, or they're, I don't know, not using looking around stuff at all. But that is a significant button that you need to be able to use for either trim. I guess you don't really need your trim too much, but that's usually the button that people use to look around. But there is, especially in multiplayer, it is definitely a necessity to be able to look around while manipulating your HOTAS and buttons to be able to be effective in that flight. because you don't want to always, especially in formation. So when you're in formation, you want to always look at the plane that you're in formation with, because it's hard to be in formation with something you can't see. So with a head tracker, that would really alleviate some of the the issues that you would have if you don't have a head tracker to be able to have visual of your wingman.
Yeah, that was very surprising to me. I remember I remember when I first started out, I didn't have a truck hair or anything like that. And then when I first started using it, I was like, "Whoa, why wasn't I using this the whole time?" Um, it is it is it is quite significant to the experience of flying multiplayer, single player, flying flight simulators, combat flight sims.
Yeah, it's
It
a
is
huge
something that
difference.
is makes a lot of difference to the experience overall. Not just your performance, to the way you experience things. Let me see. There is other things that I wanted to. There's still a lot of people here. I looked under the following section of experience seeking. A lot of people still look for um, single player campaigns only, apparently.
Yes.
And I wonder why this is. If it's just because, oh no, you have a section for this, don't you? Uh, why people uh,
Yeah, it's
don't want to fly multiplayer as much as I think they should or could. Here it is, preventing online flights. This one, I think, right?
yeah. Yeah, there was one with,
Right.
yeah, preventing online flights. If you have not played online, what is stopping you from multiplayer flights? So yeah, that covers it.
Yeah. So time
13.
constraints. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's where I am. Mhm. Yeah, time constraints. I can relate to this because I include myself in this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I already play online. Big majority. That's majority of people already that answered this already play online, so that's fine. Let's see here. Uh, Multiplayer accessibility. Now, this is something I can completely understand because BMS being what it is, with the way one connects to servers and gets the whole thing going, is not modern. I'm not sure to what extent the BMS team can fix that, if they can at all, if that's just something that's like so hard coded into the code that's just can't be pulled out and replaced with something more modern. But yeah, the whole IP connecting thing is like for something that for someone that is younger, I want to say, and I'm not trying to like diss younger people or anything, but people in my generation, I think yours, Prime, we experienced this era of the internet where if we wanted to connect to a server, we had to go through IPs. So this is not foreign to me, but I know can it probably is to a lot of people, like the whole way one connects in BMS to servers. It can be kind of bizarre and daunting.
Yep.
So I understand that.
And the like the
I
correlation with, I kind of had a correlation with that. So we're used to using IP addresses. We're used to, well, actually going peeling back the onion. We're used to having manuals that come with games from like way back in like the 2000s and stuff. And if you saw on here the the how long ago and how long have you been playing Falcon BMS, we see it's 16 plus years. So with that being said, you don't have people playing Falcon BMS at 0 years old. So you have at least people who are in their 30s, high 20s, maybe even 60s. People have been playing simulators for a very long time, so they've seen the advancement of the internet, so they're able to understand how the internet worked before. On the caveat to that, we always have new people, and that knowledge is not being implemented in the current people getting into the internet. So that knowledge is going away. So the change of the way online flight works to connect is changing and getting, I guess, less complicated and more streamlined to be able to get in. So there's going to be more and more people who have not played Falcon BMS during the time of the IP typing. So eventually we'll have to uh, change that to be able to be a little bit more easier to get people online, because that's the biggest thing of Falcon BMS is the play online. And it's like we saw in the data, it's a multitude of factors of things when it comes to why they don't play online. But the most excitement and the most fun you get out of Falcon BMS is online. Even though if you play it for 20 minutes with somebody, an hour for somebody, or in our cases 5 hours with somebody, as long as you get into Falcon BMS, it opens up another door and increases your experiences when it comes to seeing stuff. Because if you do it in single player, you're not playing with another human. You're not talking to another human. Communication is not as uh, robust when it comes to talking to a human versus a computer with the comm rows. But yeah, we see the separation of the ages can be a like a friction point in Falcon BMS, and the thoughts of the younger people versus the older people. So that could be something in the data as well.
Absolutely. Another thing that I one thing that I saw that is surprising. Well, maybe not surprising, but something I want to address is this: there was also a not insignificant amount of people that say they have a lack of personal skill set. To the people that answer this, I want to say, look, no one is a pro on here. Well, maybe there are a couple of actual fighter pilots. Well, I know there are a couple of fighter pilots that fly
Yeah,
BMS,
that's fair.
but most of us are not fighter pilots. Most of us do this as a hobby. No one does Falcon BMS as a full-time job, to my experience. At least I don't. I know you Prime have a job other than content creation, but no one here is a professional other than the fighter pilots that do fly BMS. There are not many, but they exist. Um, Lack of personal skill set is something why I think you should fly in multiplayer, because in multiplayer I am of the belief that your uh, so to speak, your shortcomings will be addressed and you will improve because you'll have an external view, so to speak. You have someone else looking at you and what you do, and and hopefully guide you, giving you advice on how to improve, how to get better. Now, someone might say, "Okay, yeah, I know the systems, but I don't know how to. I can't fly formation. I suck at flying formation." Well, I suck at flying formation too. That's why very early in my multiplayer career, I decided to go and try out being a flight lead, so I wouldn't have to fly formation as often as I would have if I was a wingman. Uh, but yeah, the I think to grow, if your only limitation is a perceived lack of personal skill set, please find a group of, if you have the time, of course, find a group for flying BMS online, and I promise you, you will improve dramatically and quickly if you fly relatively often. You will improve drastically. Uh, if you're in a good group, you will improve. I can assure you of that. Um,
And even if it's not
Another,
and even
yeah,
if
sorry,
it's
go ahead.
not like a mission, like I've flown just training flights. There's no enemies, there's no SAMs, there's literally nothing. All you're doing is taking off, getting used to the communication with another flight lead. You're taking off, doing maybe some formation stuff. You're getting used to switch sides, getting used to the tactical turns, turning tactically, and doing some admin work in the air. Maybe we did some ILS landings. Like it's just literally like non-threatening things in a training mission, and even then would be something that you would learn in a less stressful environment, to be able to increase your experiences with Falcon BMS. Because once you get in a single player, you're in single player, you get used to it, and there's a certain like plateau you get to where you can only get so good in single player and then once you get into multiplayer, that plateau gets broken and more doors open, and so you can actually get increase your experience and increase your skill set with the multiplayer. And I had a comment on this video saying, or I think it was on Reddit. I don't know if they're being facetious or sarcastic or whatever, but the comment was like, please, this video slash survey was more of a please, please, please play multiplayer, please. And it's like, okay, well, if it is, then we're just trying to get you more experiences and more fun out of Falcon BMS. And if you don't want to play multiplayer, then don't play multiplayer. I don't understand why this has to be a please, please, please play multiplayer. But if you want to play multiplayer, cool. If you don't, then okay. But we're just giving the data and the information and the experience of multiplayer is a door opening experience. I think like 80% of Falcon BMS is the multiplayer regime, is the multiplayer aspect of things. 20% could only be in single player, but if you play in multiplayer, it's basically unlimited because you're playing with all different people, all different mission sets, and all these different things. So most the meat and potatoes of Falcon BMS in any game in the modern era now is online. Back then, when we were kids, we had campaigns where it was a single player, and literally multiplayer did not exist. So we had no choice but to do single player. But once multiplayer came up, that's the entire point of modern games now is multiplayer. So there's no reason for you to not use multiplayer in Falcon BMS multiplayer type game. So, but yes, please play multiplayer because it'll make your experience better. So sorry for making your experience possibly better, but it was just interesting that that comment was posted.
Yeah, some people find some bizarre reasons to complain. Uh, another aspect of this, or another part of this survey is fear of embarrassment around others. Look, I get it. Some people think they're gonna be trash at talking on the radio, and that's fine. But like the point I made before of lack of personal skill sets, you will get better at talking on the radio in a multiplayer setting. Once you do start talking on the radio, initially it's gonna be awful. Unless you're experienced in the aviation world, you know the calls and all that stuff, then you're gonna be fine. But if your embarrassment comes from the fact that you think you're gonna stumble over your words on the radio and stuff like that, look, everybody does that. I do that sometimes or a lot of times when things start getting heated, we start getting in over our heads. Sometimes we stumble on what we're trying to say, but don't let that be something that discourages you from trying out BMS just because of that uh, of that aspect of that. Because again, you will improve that aspect of your BMS experience once you do start flying multiplayer and getting better at it, getting experience with it. That I can also guarantee that.
So now, yeah, we talked about some of the multiplayer experiences, talked about the survey that we did. Hopefully everyone learned something and you're able to understand a little bit more of the BMS community when it comes to the survey that we did, why people don't play online, why people play only single player, and the different reasons why people don't play multiplayer as much as they want to because of time constraints or lack of personal skill set or many of those things that we talked about today in the podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening. If you like Falcon BMS, please subscribe. It's also on Spotify. Share with your friends. Also, if you have any other topics you want to talk about or want us to talk about, put it in the comments on YouTube. I put it on YouTube as well. So we're trying to be interactive and get some of the feedback from some of the listeners to be able to talk about more things. I do appreciate Fisgas for coming on and being on as a second person for this podcast. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, and I do appreciate you coming on and talking with me about this topic. Any other
My pleasure.
things you want to say to the viewers here, Fisgas?
No, not much. I would suggest go watch that the video Prime posted about the survey, because there is a lot of interesting information on here that was gathered. It's maybe even for people that organize flights, maybe you can get an idea of what people enjoy doing. So you can maybe, I don't know, build some missions or work your missions around some of the answers to get a broader what's the word? Make
Yep.
your missions like cover a broader mission, broader type of tasks and all that
Yeah,
stuff. I'm
skill
not sure
set
if
and
that makes
experience and
sense.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. So yeah. So other than that, not much more to say. I wanna thank everyone for watching. I wanna again thank you for having me on. I continue to enjoy having this podcast, and I enjoy reading people's comments. And I look forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you. Hopefully everybody learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.